Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News at 7 p.m. on LA56.
Under arrest, a man who may be linked to the Paris terror attacks. Meanwhile, a new terror threat targeting U.S.-bound airplanes.
New video released showing 4 armed suspects breaking into a Palos Verdes estate's home, tying up their victims and robbing them.
A dangerous pursuit comes to a crashing conclusion in downtown L.A. The suspect now in police custody. Good evening, I'm Mark Brown.
I'm Ellen Leyva. David and Colleen are off. Welcome to Eyewitness News on LA56, LA's only live local newscast at 7 p.m. New developments in the Paris terror attacks, including an arrest and more controversy over the newspaper Charlie Hebdo. And here in the U.S., a new terror threat. Eyewitness News reporter Alex Michelson is live in the Satellite Center with details. Alex?
Ellen, that new threat concerns so-called hidden bombs on planes. Tonight, TSA agents are ramping up security on things like all passengers and carry-on luggage.
Security has stepped up tonight at U.S. airports after a new threat. Al-Qaeda's magazine Inspire is publishing a step-by-step instruction on making a new kind of bomb that would only be detected by full-body scanner machines. The problem is, many smaller airports don't have those.
This group, AQAP, is absolutely determined to try to take out an attack on a U.S.-bound airplane.
The brothers behind the Charlie Hebdo shooting say they were working on behalf of Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. It's believed they were acting as part of a terror cell. Today, Bulgarian authorities arrest a Frenchman who was possibly part of that cell. Fritz Jolly Joaquin appeared in court for an extradition hearing after being arrested trying to cross into Turkey. Meanwhile, in Paris, funerals for the French police officers shot to death last week. U.S. police officers, including the LAPD's deputy chief, are on hand to show solidarity.
This isn't a problem just for France. It's not a problem just for Europe. It's a global problem.
In Jerusalem, 4 victims who were killed inside a Paris kosher market are laid to rest in an emotional service featuring the Israeli Prime Minister.
4 dear people, righteous people who loved the world.
The surviving employees at Charlie Hebdo are refusing to give in to fear, publishing 3 million copies of the latest edition featuring the Prophet Muhammad on the cover.
I just had this energy, just the idea of drawing Muhammad, and I looked at him, he was crying. Then I wrote above it, all is forgiven. Then I started crying. That was the front cover.
That cartoonist you just heard from actually broke down in tears during that press conference. He says that on the morning of the shooting, he overslept. If he hadn't, he would have been inside that room during the massacre. Reporting live from the Satellite Center tonight, Alex Michelson, ABC7, Eyewitness News.
Alex, thank you. And a show of solidarity with the people of Paris today by the Los Angeles City Council. Council adjourned its meeting in honor of the victims of the recent terror attacks. Consul General of France was there to read the names of those victims.
A big rig fire forced the shutdown of several lanes of Interstate 10 earlier today. All westbound lanes of I-10 were shut down for about 5 hours near Eastern Avenue in the City Terrace area. 2 eastbound lanes were also shut down as fire crews put out the flames. Investigators say a big rig hauling a load of TVs caught fire beneath the Eastern Avenue overcrossing. Nobody was hurt. A public works crew responded to clean up the diesel fuel leaking from the truck and to prevent the fuel from running into storm drains. A pursuit in downtown L.A. came to a crashing conclusion. Police say they were trying to pull over a reckless driver. This ended when the driver hit a white car and then smashed into a fence. He got out of the vehicle, tried to get away on foot, but only made it a short distance before police tackled him. He is now in custody. There were at least 2 people in the white car that was hit. They required medical attention. The condition of the suspect is unknown.
Prosecutors showed videos in court of a Chinese graduate student being attacked near USC by shadowy figures who then chased him down the street. DA says the video shows what happened when Xingran Ji, a graduate student, was beaten to death last July. A judge will determine if 3 teenagers will face murder charges in Ji's death. Authorities say the teens beat the 24-year-old student with a bat and wrench and then left him for dead. Police need your help in catching a gang of home invasion robbers. Suspects broke into the Palos Verdes estate's home, tying up the residents while they ransacked the place. Eyewitness News reporter Rasid Garcia has the video and reaction from worried neighbors.
The couple inside their Palos Verdes estate's home, at no warning, 4 armed, masked men were about to rob them by getting inside the home through an open garage door.
Once inside, they confronted the couple that was living there, forced them to the ground, tied them up with zip ties, and then proceeded to ransack the house.
It happened around 7:30 Saturday night at the home on the 1700 block of Lower Paseo La Cresta. Police say the thieves stole a substantial amount of jewelry and other valuables. What's also disturbing:
we believe it was not random. There were some statements made by the suspects during the robbery that lead us to believe that it was not random.
We're all very concerned.
Monica Reyna lives close by. She says she and her neighbors are beefing up their own home security after what happened.
Alarm system, who we carry, and said, please, we need you to be very active on watching out because nobody knows, and right now you have to be protecting yourself 100%. So that's what we're doing, basically.
Police here are also checking in with other law enforcement agencies like the Sheriff's Department and Manhattan Beach Police to see if the 4 men responsible for this weekend's home invasion robbery here in Palos Verdes Estates could also be responsible for similar robberies in the surrounding areas. Sid Garcia, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Unattended candles and a dried-out Christmas tree are the likely causes of an early morning house fire in Azusa. The fire broke out overnight in the 5400th block of Clydebank Avenue. Firefighters say the flames were 75 feet high when they got to the scene. A majority of the house had already been consumed by the fire. Courtney Branch was home with her 2 brothers and father at the time. The fire broke out while they were asleep.
My adopted brother Jesse came in and he woke me up telling me to get out of the house because there was a fire.
I can see into my room where there used to be my bookshelves, and I could see them from the street, and there's nothing there where they used to be. All gone.
Nobody was injured. Damage is estimated at over $500,000.
And a tragic discovery in the 1100 block of Gardenia Avenue in Long Beach. 3 people were found dead in an apartment, the apparent victims of carbon monoxide poisoning. Eyewitness News reporter Robert Holguin tells us police checked the apartment after neighbors reported smelling a foul odor.
Idelfonsa Cruz describes what she says was a powerful stench coming from the apartment next door. It got worse by the day, so she finally peeked inside and saw that her neighbors were dead. Cruz contacted the manager, who got in touch with the owner.
He got here, he opened the door, we seen the 3 dead bodies, closed it real quick, called Long Beach Police Department.
Last night, Long Beach police found 3 adults dead inside this apartment, 2 men and 1 woman. Their bodies were badly decomposed, indicating that they had been dead for several days.
When the cops went open the door, the smell it was gone. It just flew out, traveled through the air.
But Long Beach police do not suspect foul play.
We also located a very large propane heater inside that unit. It's the type of heater that is not intended for indoor use, and we believe that there is a possibility that these 3 deaths were caused by carbon monoxide poisoning.
They're utilizing these devices to stay warm, and the reality is in an unventilated area, that's deadly.
Jake Heflin with the Long Beach Fire Department says carbon monoxide poisoning kills an average of 400 Americans annually.
We're going out to the community, making sure the community is informed of the risks associated with carbon monoxide, and to make sure that people are aware that carbon monoxide is an odorless, tasteless, it doesn't have a smell, and it's deadly.
As for the 3 victims, neighbors say they had moved into the apartment at the same time that a record cold snap hit Southern California.
I just rent the apartment on the 2nd of this month, so basically they were there for 10 days, but 5 days dead. I guess they only live here for 5 days.
As for the 3 victims, the coroner says their ages range from 30 to 50 years old, but their identities have still not been released. Reporting from Long Beach, Robert Holguin, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
An Ohio bartender with a history of mental illness is facing federal charges for allegedly threatening to kill House Speaker John Boehner last fall. A grand jury indictment identifies the man as Michael R. Hoyt. According to the criminal complaint, Hoyt said he had a loaded pistol and he was going to shoot Boehner. Hoyt volunteered to be taken to a psychiatric hospital and police took his weapon. Spokesperson for Boehner says the speaker is aware of the situation and sincerely thanks the FBI, the Capitol Police, and local authorities in Ohio.
The Democratic field vying for the U.S. Senate seat from California, formerly held by Barbara Boxer, is shaping up with Attorney General Kamala Harris, the first major name to toss her hat into the ring. She is the first, but probably not the last, to enter the race. Eyewitness News reporter Carlos Granda takes a look at Harris and the rest of the political field.
Attorney General Kamala Harris launched her campaign online, on Twitter, and her website. I have worked to bring smart, innovative, and effective approaches to fighting crime, fighting for consumers, and fighting for equal rights for all. I want to be a voice for Californians on these issues and others that impact our state in the U.S. Senate.
Getting in early, you want to preempt the field in terms of money, in terms of endorsements. She's already tight with law enforcement, which is important, when you run in California. You want to keep as many of the others out as possible.
The announcement comes one day after Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom said he would not run for the seat, but others might. For Democrats, Representative Loretta Sanchez on her Facebook page said, "Californians deserve a strong voice in Washington, and I've never been afraid to speak up, which is why I am seriously considering running for the United States Senate in 2016. Billionaire environmental activist Tom Steyer is another possible candidate, as is former LA Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa.
Antonio is still a very strong force. He'd have to run, not as mayor of Los Angeles, but he's moved back to L.A., probably going to start building up the name again. The Latino community really likes him.
It's likely that he'd be the only Latino in the race. He might end up being the only Southern Californian in the race. And he's got an ability to reach across party lines in a way that maybe the other candidates don't.
And Schnur says in this very blue state, this race would be very difficult for any Republican candidate.
There really isn't much of a Republican bench of candidates. It's entirely likely under the top two primary that we have in California, we could end up with a general election next November with two Democratic candidates.
So far, no Republicans have announced that they're running for the seat. Meanwhile, political experts say the next 2 years will be a chess game, as a number of candidates will be moving around to try to position themselves for the next election. Reporting from the newsroom, I'm Carlos Granda, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
On video, watch as an officer's quick thinking saved several lives in a dangerous house fire.
Plus, a mother's car stolen with her child inside. See how the toddler helped police track him down.
She makes everybody happy. Like, how can you not love this thing?
And meet Eclipse, the dog who takes the bus by herself. Plus what her owner says about it.
After a cool and windy day, I will tell you how long the gusts will continue and how warm the temperatures will get coming up in the 7 days.
Hey, give me some help in here!
That announcement from an Oklahoma police officer likely saved several lives after he rushed into a burning home. It was captured on the police officer's body camera. Officer Jody Stanbridge spotted smoke and headed to the house fire in Muskogee. He dragged one man with burns to safety and then went door to door helping neighbors evacuate before fire crews arrived.
Dramatic details of a carjacking in Utah. A mother dropped her infant at daycare and left her 3-year-old waiting in the back seat. And that's when a stranger made off with her car and her child. Tonight, the cell phone call the little boy answered that may have saved his life. And ABC's Brandy Hitt has the story.
It began innocently enough, a mother dropping off her child at this daycare in Ogden, Utah, leaving her car running with 3-year-old Aiden all alone in the back seat. That's when police say a suspect got behind the wheel and took off.
There's 2012 white Mazda 3 stolen from the parking lot. There was a baby in the back seat.
A terrifying carjacking underway. Aiden's mother realizing her cell phone was still inside. Officers hoping Aiden would pick up.
The 3-year-old child answered it. He's by himself in the car.
The thief had ditched the vehicle after a few blocks, so police asked Aiden to start honking the horn.
The vehicle at Ogden has been located.
A similar case in Colorado last year. This 4-year-old boy left in a running van outside a convenience store also carjacked and taken on a wild high-speed chase. The young boy rescued unharmed, just like little Aiden, now back safe in his mother's arms.
Oh my gosh. It felt so good, just knowing he was safe and knowing what he did. And he was just brave.
So brave, tonight the Ogden Police Department is making Aiden an honorary junior police officer. Brandy at ABC News, Los Angeles.
Heavy fog is being blamed for a crash that killed 5 men east of Stockton this morning. The collision happened before 7 at State Route 4 and Highway 99. The CHP says a van carrying 6 farm workers was broadsided by a truck as the van tried to cross the highway. 5 men inside the van were killed. A 6th man suffered major injuries. The 2 people inside the truck were also taken to the hospital. The CHP says the visibility was less than 100 feet at the time of the crash.
Jonathan Novak here, and I wish we could say we're tracking rain.
We're not.
I know.
And by the way, fog, the most dangerous of weather conditions, just statistically, it's very dangerous. We don't have any in our forecast. That would imply that we have some moisture. We would love some moisture, but we don't have any. What we have instead, can you complain? Sunny skies, 70.
Good point.
Yeah, it's good. Look at it. I want you guys to notice something. Check out the ocean, and you see which way it's going? Offshore, right? Right, that's that offshore wind, and you know what that is, the Santa Ana wind that warms us up, and that's a cool time-lapse there at the end of the day depicting that very nicely. It was very seasonable today for high temperatures, 68 smack dab right there where we should be in downtown Los Angeles. The winds are calm in downtown, but in some spots like Riverside, they've been gusty today. You've move down those winds to about 5 to 15 tonight. They'll kick back into gear tomorrow. We have another day of some gusty conditions going in through the middle of the week and into Thursday. Around the area, temperatures are about where they should be. About 60, give or take. 60 Van Nuys, 61 Santa Clarita, 59 Oxnard. And then over to the mountains where it's going to be a little breezy as well. 30 right now, Big Bear. The 2 features in the atmosphere are this: high pressure to the west, low pressure to the east, and in between, we're getting those winds. That's what's bringing those gusty northeast winds, and that's what's bringing those Santa Anas over the next day. There'll be, I'd say, about 15 to 25 in the mountains and in the valleys of LA and Ventura County, and even in through San Bernardino and Riverside County through the mountains, gusting up to about 35. And we can show you that here in the future winds, that we have a couple of mornings left of some windy conditions. I'd actually say breezy. I think windy is probably a little bit too strong of a word because the wind's 15 to 25 is not that bad. We don't even have any wind advisories, but it is something that if you are in the mountains or as you head through Tuesday night and into Wednesday night into Thursday morning through the valley areas of Ventura County and LA County, you might still get some of those gusts kicking in, and then we'll take them out of the forecast, and what we're left with is 70s and sunny skies throughout the entire 7-day. But for tonight, average stuff, valleys 48, about 50 to 52, I should say, beaches to downtown, 49 in the low desert, winds in the morning about 15 to 25, gusting to 35. Highs are above average. There you go. Look at that, 74 in LA, 76 in Anaheim. Back to the non-winter-like weather. Lower 70s, IE, and again, breezy. 7-day forecast, LA Metro and Orange County, powered up by AccuWeather. A warm, pleasant 7 days, the whole 7-day. We do have some clouds next week, but that's the worst I can tell you. No rain. So in the meantime, we'll take it. Valleys, IE, again, breezy in the morning. Tomorrow, a little less breezy. on Thursday morning, but still in there for about, I'd say, about 15-mile-an-hour winds on Thursday morning. Look at the highs, mid-70s for most of that 7-day. Really a warm forecast for everybody. Beaches are also there in the lower 70s, sunny, beautiful. And then the mountains, again, gusty conditions, especially for you on Wednesday and Thursday mornings. Highs climb into the lower 50s, which is above average, and no snow. But we'll keep you sunny in the high desert, breezy, cool for a few days before you head into the weekend where you're going to reach 65 on Saturday. I know, no rain. Those are like it's painful to say that.
Yeah.
Wait, in the meantime, sunny skies and warm stuff. Okay. Can't beat it.
We'll deal with it. Thanks a lot, gentlemen.
I know, right?
A cow on the loose on the 5 freeway in Washington State.
Patrol, what are you reporting?
Hi, there's a cow running through the intersection off exit 212.
A young teenager had just purchased the cow, but it got away from him. The cow was strolling down the side of the road and then to the center median, where the grass was taller and presumably tastier. Police say the cow was a hazard to itself and to drivers in the area, so they put it down.
She is a regular rider on Seattle's D-Line bus, so why is that notable? We'll see for yourself.
She makes everybody happy. Sits here just like a person does. She's a person.
Gets on and off by herself.
Yep, everyone knows Eclipse, the dog who rides the bus all by herself all the time. It's been going on for a while. So where does she go? Well, where do you think she goes?
The dog gets off. It's a stop at the dog park and gets off the bus. And I just look out the window and I'm like, did that just happen?
Storing stuff in those bags.
So here's how it all got started. Eclipse belongs to Jeff Young, who would often take her on the bus to the dog park. But before getting on the bus, Jeff liked to have a smoke. One day, the bus showed up, and Jeff wasn't finished with a cigarette. So Eclipse got on without him. Basically, see you later at the park. I'm not going to wait for you. Now she routinely rides ahead, and Jeff catches up later. And as for Seattle Metro, they say they love the dog. It supports public transit, though they think maybe Eclipse should keep Jeff on a leash.
Yep, smart doggy. Coming up here is a death-defying climb at Yosemite Park nearing an end.
Up next, when the climbers hope to reach their lofty goal.
Plus, lost at sea, a cruise ship passenger overboard, left behind by the ship. You'll see what happened next.
5-hour rescue operation was needed in Washington State to pull a 16-year-old boy to safety after getting stuck in thigh-high mud. Crews say the team was at a skate park when he tried to cross a muddy creek. It only appeared to be about a foot deep from the surface. Rescue crews had to run a water line alongside the boy's leg to create enough pressure to pull him out. Teen was not hurt.
Different sort of struggle here. It's the toughest climb ever attempted on Yosemite's El Capitan. And tonight the end is in sight after 17 days. Kevin Jorgensen and Tommy Caldwell have been inching their way up the 3,000-foot granite face using only their hands and feet. It's never been done before. Their ropes and harnesses are only for safety to prevent a deadly fall. And in fact, Jorgensen has fallen 11 times. The spokesperson says they are expected to reach the top tomorrow night.
We're updating this evening's top stories next at 7:30.
Including the urgent new warning tonight about bombs on passenger planes. The warning that many U.S. airports will not be able to detect them.
Plus, bombshell testimony in a bizarre murder-for-hire trial. Today we're hearing from the former NFL football player allegedly solicited to be a hitman.
Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News at 7:30 p.m. on LA56.
Our top story at 7:30, a man believed to be tied to the brothers who carried out the Charlie Hebdo massacre has been arrested in Bulgaria. I'm Ellen Leva.
I'm Mark Brown. David and Colleen are off tonight. This is Eyewitness News on LA56, LA's only live local newscast at 7 p.m. Police are still trying to find this woman, the alleged girlfriend of the gunman who killed 4 people at a kosher supermarket. Investigators believe she and an accomplice are now hiding in ISIS territory in Syria. Meantime, security has been increased at U.S. airports after a new threat. Al-Qaeda's magazine Inspire is publishing step-by-step instructions on how to make a new kind of bomb. ABC's Brian Ross has more.
At U.S. airports tonight, a security alert over what Al-Qaeda is calling its hidden bomb. with TSA screeners under orders to ramp up the number of random searches, both on passengers and on carry-on luggage. The security order comes after Al-Qaeda published this alarming online step-by-step bomb recipe, the most detailed and lethal instructions ever, according to U.S. bomb experts.
It is detailed, it is instructional, it appears people are reading it, and it's something we need to push back on very hard.
U.S. experts say the bomb would be even more powerful than this. The so-called underwear and shoe bombs, which U.S. authorities replicated and exploded. The instructions even include where to sit on a plane to maximize damage. But what most alarmed U.S. security officials is that the device, with no metal parts, is specifically designed to get through standard airport magnetometers and would only be detected by full-body scanner machines, which are not present at many smaller airports. Through this large loophole, the instructions read, you can pass through many American airports.
This group is absolutely determined. They've shown that in the past to try to take out an attack on a U.S.-bound airplane.
The U.S. airport alert comes as authorities in France piece together the puzzle of the terror sleeper cell behind last week's attacks. The 3 gunmen, the girlfriend and her accomplice on the run, and now today, the arrest of a new suspect in Bulgaria, and at least 6 other people still being hunted.
So, far from being decimated, Al-Qaeda continues to pose a threat, with its behind-the-scene help in the French attacks, and now its new efforts to get supporters to build and smuggle a bomb onto American aircraft. Brian Ross, ABC News, New York.
We now have confirmation that ISIS is both active and recruiting in Afghanistan. Afghan officials say they've found ISIS followers in the southern part of the country. However, they say the numbers are small. In some cases, they say the followers are familiar faces from the Taliban who are now appearing under the name of ISIS. At this point, officials say they don't consider them a threat to the Afghan military or government.
In response to an increase in school shootings, a California company has started making bullet-resistant doors, remote-controlled locks, and bullet-resistant windows for classrooms. But the technology is extremely expensive, so billionaire businessman John Paul DeJoria has partnered with Safer Schools for America, giving a portion of the profits from his new phone and music service, Rockmobile, back to schools. Today, the company donated locks for every door at Valley Vista High School in Fountain Valley.
This, I think, just is conducive in terms of kids kind of changing their thinking and feeling more relaxed about school.
Rockmobile and Safer Schools for America plan to donate door locks to 3 more schools in Orange County in the coming months.
Hours-long stand-up in the 1300 block of East Date Street in San Bernardino puts an elementary school on lockdown. Police say it all started overnight when an armed suspect barricaded himself in a house right across the street from Jefferson Hunt Elementary School. School was placed on lockdown for several hours. Standoff ended about noon. Officers say the situation lasted so long because the suspect was apparently asleep most of the morning. Police canine was finally able to take the suspect down. He was then taken to a hospital and booked into jail. And the bombshell bandit has pled guilty. Sandeep Kaur of Riverside has now admitted to robbing banks in Southern California, Arizona, and Utah. She got the nickname Bombshell Bandit in part because she wore glamorous wigs and sunglasses, and also because she threatened to set off bombs during her crimes. Kaur was arrested in August after a 130-mile-an-hour car chase through Nevada. She's now facing up to 20 years behind bars.
2 women accused of impersonating police officers to commit robberies are under arrest. LA County Sheriff's investigators say on Friday the women handcuffed a bicyclist and robbed him of his belongings in Rancho Dominguez. They say the women, who were dressed in police-style uniforms, also tried to stop a pedestrian. Detectives found plenty of evidence at the suspect's home, including a replica handgun, 2 uniform jackets with police-type patches, handcuffs, zip ties, a flashlight, and gloves. They say the vehicle used in the crime was a 1999 Lexus SUV. A key witness for the prosecution took the stand in a murder-for-hire trial, but his testimony turned out to be a surprise. Eyewitness News reporter Miriam Hernandez has details from the LA Airport Courthouse.
Former NFL pro Chris Guiley testifies today he was a shoulder to cry on, a sounding board, that he never thought that the defendant, Don DeLuise, was trying to solicit him to commit murder. He told the jury that they met at a Big Bear bar. Weeks later, he said she was upset, crying and crying, that someone was stalking her, that the person she believed was posting lewd Photoshop pictures of her was a business rival, Gabriel Suarez. Guiley said she rambled, that she didn't know what to do. He testified, I told her to go to the police. Guiley's testimony is pivotal to the prosecution's case. DeLuise had sent text messages to friends saying that the former Detroit Lions quarterback would be the one to take Suarez out. In a separate text to Guiley, she wrote, quote, "Just tell me how to reach out to maybe supremacist groups who can deal with a double minority, Mexican gay, who is making threats to a woman and her child. I can't believe that I can't locate one person who will handle this douche, even if I have to pay to have it done," unquote. Deputy DA Christine Van Helmont asked, "What was your response?" Guiley, no response. He testified, "I just thought it was nuts. I thought she was spouting off. Of course, it alarmed me, but I thought it was ranting." He said he did ask where Suarez lived, but he says he only wanted information that he could turn over to friends in law enforcement. The defense attorney for DeLuise, Jamon Hicks, pressed for clearer answers. Did Miss DeLuise ever tell you she wanted you to kill Mr. Suarez? Answer, no. Did Miss DeLuise ever ask you to harm Mr. Suarez? Answer, no. Did she ever tell you to do anything illegal? Answer, no. The trial is coming quickly to a close. The prosecution could rest its case tomorrow. Reporting from Del Air, Miriam Hernandez, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Some tense moments in the sky today when a Delta jetliner had to make an emergency landing at LAX. Delta Boeing 757 had just taken off on a flight to Minneapolis with 152 people on board when the pilot reported a partial systems failure. He circled off the coast to dump and burn off fuel and then came in for a landing. It looked like a perfect approach. However, it was not easy. No official word on what the problem was. However, reports say that partial system failure made it difficult to keep the plane flying in a straight line. Divers have located what appears to be the main fuselage of the AirAsia jet that crashed last month. The location where divers are searching is northeast of where the tail section was previously located. Many of the 162 victims are expected to still be inside. Only 48 bodies have been recovered. Meanwhile, the second black box was recovered from the Java Sea. However, officials say it could take weeks to fully analyze the data the black boxes contain.
Passenger overboard and nobody noticed. The cruise ship had moved on, leaving the passenger bobbing in the open ocean. ABC's Cecilia Vega shows us what happened next.
That speck in the ocean, that's a 22-year-old man overboard. He somehow fell into the Caribbean off the biggest cruise ship in the world, and the ship sailed on. It's unclear how long he was out there. Someone on a Disney ship traveling the same route spotted him in these choppy waters off the coast of Cozumel, Mexico. It was 6:30 on Thursday morning. A passenger on the Magic says he was up early enjoying his coffee when he heard the man scream, a sound he tells us he will never forget. The rescue caught on camera by this man watching on deck.
It was surreal. And seeing the lifeboat head out towards him and seeing him out there treading water.
Witnesses say the Magic stopped, crews launched a lifeboat, and raced to save him.
When they wheeled him off, he was in a sitting up position on the stretcher, and he was waving to everybody.
The fall from the top deck of Royal Caribbean's Oasis of the Seas, 21 stories, longer than a drop from the top of Niagara Falls. In a statement, Royal Caribbean says, "We are grateful for the other ship's assistance." That other ship, owned by Disney, ABC's parent company. From overboard to overjoyed and back on dry land tonight. Cecilia Vega, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Wow. Well, more than 10,000 undocumented immigrants have been issued California driver's licenses. According to the DMV, more than 10,000 licenses were issued in the program's first full week, and more than 11,000 have been issued since January 2nd. The licenses were authorized under legislation AB60, which was signed by Governor Jerry Brown in 2013. DMV projects some 1.4 million immigrants will seek licenses over the next 3 years.
ABC7 is proud to once again broadcast the annual Martin Luther King Kingdom Day Parade. Now in its 30th year, it will air right on ABC7 here on Monday, January 19th, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Parade starts at MLK in Vermont, then rolls west on King Boulevard before turning south onto Crenshaw. Parade ends just before Vernon, and that's where the Kingdom Day Festival begins. Festival has lots of entertainment, tasty food booths, and so much more to do. Parade airs on KABC from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Monday, January 19th, Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Up next, the Directors Guild announces its award nominees, and there are some surprising snubs, how it could affect the Oscar race.
Plus, this year's Razzie nominations released today as well. Which films will compete for the dubious honor of this year's Worst Picture? And this story.
Is it back from the dead? I'm Rob Hayes. We'll take you inside the old Rialto Theater and tell you about plans to reopen it. That story coming up.
And a gusty day across some portions of Southern California. I will tell you how long the winds will be blowing and some warm weather in your 7-day forecast. Look around.
Five men have been honored with nominations from the Directors Guild of America for their work on the big screen this year, and for one director, it's his fourth time being recognized. Clint Eastwood received his DGA nod, number 4, for his drama American Sniper. He previously won the award for Unforgiven and $1 Million Baby. Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu is another previous nominee. This year it's for Birdman. In 2006, he was up for Babel. The DGA has 3 first-time nominees in this year's class: Wes Anderson for The Grand Budapest Hotel, along with Norwegian-born filmmaker Morten Tyldum for The Imitation Game, and rounding out the 5 nominees, Richard Linklater for his family drama Boyhood. The winner will be revealed February 7th.
And today in Burbank, preparations for the upcoming Screen Actors Guild Awards. The actual statuette, which are called actors, were cast in solid bronze at the American Fine Arts Foundry. Each actor carries its own unique serial number. To date, 872 statuettes have been awarded. Potential winners better be working on their biceps right now. The statuette weighs 12 pounds. SAG Awards will be presented on Sunday, January 25th at the Shrine Auditorium. But next up on the award circuit, Oscar nominations. On Thursday morning, our entertainment guru George Pinocchio will bring you live coverage from Beverly Hills at 5:30 a.m. on KABC.
On the not-so-great side of being recognized for your work, we also have the Razzie Awards. The film to earn the most nominations this year is the latest in the Transformers franchise. The action sequel, starring Mark Wahlberg alongside the morphing robots, has 7 nominations, including Worst Picture, Worst Sequel, Worst Screenplay, and Worst Director. Other Worst Picture nominees are Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas, Left Behind, The Legend of Hercules, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
And guess who's coming to television? Film director Woody Allen. He signed on for a new partnership with Amazon. It'll be Allen's first ever TV series. The Oscar-winning filmmaker will write and direct all of the episodes of the half-hour series. No details on casting were disclosed. In a statement, Allen jokingly said, "I don't know how I got into this. I have no ideas, and I'm not sure where to begin."
An historic but run-down movie theater in South Pasadena has been rescued. Eyewitness News reporter Rob Hayes tells us about the exciting new plans for the old Rialto Theater.
It's a South Pasadena theater with a star-studded past and a sad, dusty present. But now the future of the Rialto Theater isn't just looking bright.
The future of the Rialto is looking very bright.
As Scott Norton is the director of the nonprofit group Friends of the Rialto, and he's thrilled the 90-year-old movie house has finally been sold with plans to restore and reopen it.
The Rialto is very important to South Pasadena. It is the largest social and cultural building in the city. So this is where everyone came for decades.
He says the old theater's historic significance stretches from its opening back in 1925 to its appearance in the 1992 film The Player.
Maybe we'll do a remake of this. You'd probably give it a happy ending.
Fortunately, the theater's new owner, Isaac Shomoff, has a history of saving historic buildings. Shomoff is currently restoring the old Sears Tower in Boyle Heights. As for the Rialto, our tour of the 90-year-old movie palace shows just how much work needs to be done.
It's gone through years of very little maintenance, just the bare basics. And the concern is that without proper maintenance, a building like this can further degrade. Now that we've got a new owner, I think that's going to turn around.
The Rialto's history isn't the only reason to save it. Business owners around here say it'd be a great way to pump up the South Pass economy.
It stimulates everything around here, creates jobs, and it's good for the community, and it's a piece of art.
But art isn't cheap. Norton says bringing the old 1,200-seat theater back to its former elegance could cost between $3 to $12 million. A pricey rehab, but at least it's coming soon. In South Pasadena, Rob Hayes, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Winds whipping up. What's ahead for our weather? Jonathan Novak has his complete forecast up next.
Plus, in sports, he won a third national title last night. Now, is Urban Meyer thinking about trading Ohio State for the NFL? The answer is next.
And we'll take you up to LA's famous Wisdom Tree and show you what else we found atop perhaps SoCal's most scenic summit. Well, Jonathan's here with some wind warnings.
Yeah, wind advisory just issued, and I was wondering if the National Weather Service was going to do this, but it's at the low end of the wind advisory. So winds 20 to 30 through the morning time for the mountain areas of LA and Ventura County. So this isn't some huge wind event, but you know, when you wake up tomorrow, you're certainly going to see some gusts out there. Let's check it out. I'll show you right there. This just came down. a few minutes ago. So, yes, the winds for one more morning at least will prompt a wind advisory. And then as we go through Thursday, they'll back off and we'll start seeing the calmer conditions in play for the entire area. Right now in Burbank, it is calm, 59 degrees, nice night. The valley's looking good. Long Beach looking good at the coast, 61 and calm. Clear skies for the most part. You head to Riverside, and the winds have been kicking up all day. They backed off a little tonight, 10 to 15 maybe, but by tomorrow morning they will punch back into high gear, 20 to 30 miles an hour, and that's why the wind advisory is in effect through 10 a.m. tomorrow for those areas around the mountains, and probably down around Riverside you'll see some of those conditions as well. Current conditions now across the board are mild temperatures, clear skies. It's a nice one, but here's what's going to happen over the next couple of days. Temperatures are going to rise, and I'll tell you why right now. Those winds are Santa Ana winds, and we have low pressure to the east, high pressure to the west. In between, we're getting those winds coming around and offshore. They're not terribly gusty, so high temperatures won't be in the 80s or anything like that, but we will see some mid to upper 70s come the middle to the end of the week. So the future scan as we go through Wednesday, that low will lift away. It'll push off to the east, and high pressure will be the only influencer in our weather on Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend. So the winds are gone. It's just going to be sunny and warm Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, it's good stuff. You can actually see that low already starting to lift off to the east of our area. So highs tomorrow above average, 74 in Los Angeles, warm after a day today right at average. So the temperatures on the upswing. Lower 70s in the IE, 73 Irvine, looking good. 7-day forecast for LA Metro and Orange County, powered up by AccuWeather. Wow, it is just beautiful. 74 to 76 between Wednesday and Thursday, and then that's the trend through the weekend, my friends, and then all the way into next week, even in the lower 70s. So that's above average the whole 7 day. Valley's IE, a little breezy in the morning, and temperatures above average in the mid-70s throughout the weekend, and even into next week, lower 70s as well for you. No rain in the forecast. The beaches will be dry, sunny. The wind's really not an issue for you, but the temperatures, nice, lower to mid-70s. Now, you head to the mountains, and that's where really those gusty conditions will be in the picture for tomorrow, about 20 to 30 until about 10 a.m. They'll back off, and then Thursday morning, breezy again, probably about 15 to 20. Temperatures climbing into the lower 50s by Saturday and Sunday, and the high desert, breezy for you as well, sunny and mild, mid-60s by the weekend. And again, no rain. Just a little windy and warm, and we'll take that for now.
Okay.
Thank you guys for the day.
Like to see some rain. Thanks, Jonathan. After sitting out for the 6th time in 11 games, Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba, back on the floor for the Lakers tonight. But head coach Byron Scott says he will be limited to just 32 minutes. We'll have complete highlights at 11 on ABC7. Meantime, the UCLA Bruins had dropped 5 straight before holding serve against both Stanford and Cal at Pauley Pavilion the past week. Now the Bruins square off against USC at the Galen Center tomorrow night. The basketball rivalry never has reached the same intensity as football, but it still has plenty of cool crosstown mojo.
There's going to be a ton of energy in the building. You got two teams that are relatively young and inexperienced, and I'm sure Andy, not speaking for Andy, but I think his team's playing better than what it was a month ago, and I think we are too.
Football now. Ohio State's demolition of Oregon for the national championship was quite a ratings bonanza for ESPN. Our sister network averaged nearly 33.4 million viewers last night. That's up 30% from Florida State's win a year ago. Nearly 1 out of every 5 TVs that were on last night were tuned to the big game. Ohio State coach Urban Meyer says he has no plans on cashing in his good fortune for an NFL coaching gig. Meyer says he is committed to remaining with the Buckeyes, and with a large majority of his team returning next season, how can you blame him? The 3-time national champion isn't completely ruling out a pro job, but he says that won't happen in the near future. Former Denver head coach John Fox is looking for work. Yesterday, Fox and the Broncos parted ways less than 24 hours after the Broncos lost to Indianapolis. Fox was 49-22 in the Mile High City. Today, Broncos GM John Elway met the media to explain Fox's sudden departure, but not before the former quarterback made a comical slip of the tongue.
I'd like to start out this press conference with a thank you to John Fox. I think the main thing between John and I was we disagreed how to get to the next level.
Fox won't be out of a job for long. He is scheduled to interview with the Chicago Bears tomorrow.
A lone pine tree on top of Cahuenga Peak is fast becoming a Los Angeles landmark, but could its new fame and popularity with hikers lead to its demise? Eyewitness News reporter Giovanna Lara sets out to learn what makes the old tree so special.
There it is, a small tree standing on top of a ridge in Griffith Park. That's where we're headed on a hike with Councilman Tom LaBonge to see this lonely tree that's garnering so much attention.
Well, I mean, I just heard that it was beautiful.
It's a nice stone you can walk on.
The hike isn't easy, and if you start out from Griffith Observatory, as Councilman LaBonge suggests, it could take you a while. But these days, you're likely to meet others on the same journey, like photographer Leopold Kieber.
And you can see it from all over the valley, so that piqued my interest.
There's a lot of names for the tree. What do you call it?
Wisdom tree, magic tree, lonesome tree.
Fire, I call it the magic tree, because there was a Chief Kawhi. He was the commander of this horrific fire that came from Forest Lawn Drive all the way up about 130 acres.
Right.
And he stopped it and saved the tree. So I say it's a magic tree because it got saved.
The tree itself is charming, but adding to its allure, this one says, "Dear Wisdom Tree," the dozens of written sentiments left behind by hikers.
There are so many notes
so
here.
much.
Someone placed the journals and metal boxes under the tree years ago. Now reading them is part of the ritual when you visit.
Of course, yeah. Have you ever written a note in there or stopped to read what it says? I have. This one significant one I read was, "The next time I come up here, I will have conquered the world."
However, there's concern that fame could ruin the tree and its surroundings. So if you visit,
always respect the land, and if you see trash, pick it up and take it out. Take a lot of pictures and only leave your footprint.
Giovanna Lotta, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Morning straight ahead here at 7:30 and ahead tonight on Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC7. How does a cheaper and faster internet sound? President Obama's new plan to get you in the fast lane. Plus, a disturbing new ISIS video. Is this young boy an assassin? These stories and all the late breaking news on Southern California's #1 late newscast, Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC7. Here's one of the best love stories we've heard in quite a while, and it was 2 decades in the making. 20 years ago, 3-year-old Brittany was the flower girl at a wedding. Walking at her side, ring bearer Briggs. That was the last time they saw each other until high school, when they ended up in class together.
I go up to him in class the next day and I go, hey, we were in a wedding together. I just knew. I knew. I was like, I'm going to date this guy and I have to date him.
Well, you can see where this is heading, right? Sure enough, they started dating, went off to college, kept dating, and eventually Briggs popped the question. And so 20 years after appearing in a wedding together, they had their wedding. As Brittany says, just like a fairy tale.
Oh. Well, the sign outside a classic Eagle Rock diner is shining like new tonight. The once drab Cindy's Coffee Shop sign has been painted bold shades of orange, green, and yellow as part of a $16,000 renovation. The owner of the shop paid for the sign's rehab through an online Kickstarter campaign. In addition to the paint job, new wiring will soon allow for the sign to be lighted once again. That could happen as soon as this weekend.
And we thank you for joining us for Eyewitness News at 7:30 on LA56. Law and Order SVU is coming up next here on LA56.
Eyewitness News continues at 11 p.m. on ABC7 and anytime on the ABC7.com. See you tomorrow night at 7 right here on LA56.
Have a good night.